Hello dear students, this is Vishal sir from Ikra High School. Today I bring to you from Standard 10 NCERT syllabus chapter 15 our environment. Let's start the topic with ecosystem. All organisms such as plant, animal and microorganism and human being as well as the physical surrounding interact with each other and maintain a balance in nature. All the interacting organisms in an area together with the non-living constituent of the environment form the ecosystem. So children, ecosystem is a combination of living and non-living things which are related near each other. As you can see on the screen, an ecosystem includes all of the living things in a given area interacting with each other and also with their non-living environment, that is weather, earth, sun, soil, climate and atmosphere. So an ecosystem is divided into two parts, biotic and abiotic. Thus, an ecosystem consists of biotic components as well as abiotic components. Types of ecosystem. Ecosystem may be of two main types, natural and artificial. Natural ecosystem may consist of many types. Here you can see there are terrestrial ecosystem, grassland, forest, desert and aquatic ecosystem, marine oceans, freshwater lakes. Artificial or man-made ecosystem may be similar to the natural ecosystem, but it is made by man at a small scale. Aquarium is a type of man-made ecosystem. Crop field is also a type of man-made ecosystem. Garden is also a ecosystem. Other type of ecosystem are forest, pond and lake. These are natural, while garden and crop field are human or artificial ecosystem. Classification of organism in an ecosystem. Organism can be grouped as producers, consumers and decomposers according to the manner in which they obtain their sustenance for the environment. All green plants and certain bacteria which can produce food by photosynthesis come under this category and are called producers. So plants are the first part of our ecosystem. They are the producers. They produced food with the help of sunlight and water. And other organisms depend on producer either directly or indirectly for their sustenance. These organisms which consume the food produced either directly from producer or indirectly by feeding on other consumers are the consumers. Consumers can be classified variously as herbivores, carnivores, omnivores and parasites. An ecosystem consists of a group of organisms. The first part or the first beginning of an ecosystem comes from the producer, which are the green plant that produces its own food with the help of sunlight and energy. There are also certain type of organisms which end the ecosystem. Those can be microorganisms comprising bacteria and fungi and that break down the dead remains and waste products of the organism. Those are also called decomposers as they break down the complex organic substance into simple inorganic substance, food chain and food webs. Here you can see a diagram in figure 15.1. The trees are the producers which are consumed by the deer. Deer is a consumer which is again consumed by another consumer, a tiger, a carnivore. So it is a direct link from one producer to a consumer and to another consumer. In the same manner, the grass which the grasshopper feeds is consumed by the frog which the snake eats and the snake is consumed by the vulture. We have formed a series of organisms feeding on one another. These series of organisms taking part at various biotic level form a food chain. Each step or level of the food chain forms a trophic level. The autotrophs or the producer are at the first trophic level. They fix up the solar energy and make it available for heterotrophs or consumer. The herbivore or primary consumer come at the second, small carnivore or secondary consumer at the third and the large carnivore or tertiary consumer at the fourth trophic level. So in this way, you can see a chain of food from producer till the last consumers or the tertiary consumers is called food chain. Food we eat act as a fuel to provide us energy to do work. Thus, the interaction among various components of the environment involves flow of energy from one component of the system to another. As we have studied, autotrophs capture energy present in the sunlight and convert it into chemical energy. This energy supports all the activities of the living world. From autotrophs, the energy goes to the heterotrophs and decomposers. Now, there are certain things that had been characterized while studying food chain. First thing, the green plants in the terrestrial ecosystem capture about 1% of the sunlight and falls on their leaves and convert it into food energy. Maybe from the 100% sunlight given to the earth, only 1% of the energy is consumed by green plants. When green plants are eaten by primary consumer, a great deal of energy is lost. As heat to the environment, some amount goes into digestion in doing work and the rest goes towards growth and reproduction. As the energy flows from producers to the first consumers, the energy is transferred at a lower rate. An average of 10% of the food eaten is turned into its own body and made available for the next level of consumers. Therefore, 10% can be taken to the average value of the amount of organic matter that is present at each step and reaches the next level of consumer. Plants consume 1% of the energy from the sunlight. It is then transferred to other consumers at 10% of their food. Since so little energy is available for the next level of consumer, food chain generally consists of only 3 or 4 steps. The loss of energy at each step is so great that very little usable energy remains after 4 trophic level. There are generally a greater number of individuals at the lower trophic level of ecosystem. The greatest is of the producer. Here you can see a pyramid where the producers has the largest area. This is the flow of energy. Producers are in large number. They consume 1% of the sunlight, which is then transferred at 10% rate to the primary consumer. Still 10% from primary consumer goes to secondary, and from that 10% goes to tertiary. The tertiary consumers are of very less population. The length and complexity of food chain vary greatly. Each organism is generally eaten by 2 or more other kinds of organisms, which in turn are eaten by several other organisms. So now the food chain is not actually a food chain, it becomes a food web. So instead of a straight line food chain, the relationship can be shown as a series of branching lines called food web. So here is the diagram of the food web. Firstly, the flow of energy is unidirectional. That means it travels in only one direction. The energy from the snake goes to peacock, but from peacock it doesn't return back to snake. The energy that is captured by the autotroph does not revert back to the solar input, and energy which passes to the herbivores does not come back to the autotrophs. It moves progressively through various trophic levels. Secondly, the energy available at each trophic level gets diminished progressively due to the loss of energy at each level. Another interesting aspect of food chain is how unknowingly some harmful chemical enter our body through the food chain. One of the reasons is the use of several pesticides and other chemicals to protect our crop and disease and pest. These chemicals are either washed down into the soil or into the water bodies. From the soil they are absorbed by the plant along with water and minerals, and from the water bodies they are taken up by aquatic plants. Here you can see the diagram of the flow of energy in an ecosystem. Sunlight gives maximum amount of energy, for which only 1% of energy is consumed by the producers. Producers are in largest number in the whole ecosystem, so they transfer only 10% of their total energy to herbivores. Herbivores only transfer 10% of their energy to carnivores, and carnivores again transfer only 10% of their energy to top carnivores. So this is the diagram showing flow of energy in an ecosystem. Human beings occupy the top level in any food chain. The maximum concentration of the chemical get accumulated in our bodies. So whatever pesticides or insecticide that we use in our farmlands are indirectly entering our body, and this phenomenon is known as biological magnification. This is the reason why our food grains such as wheat, rice, vegetable, fruit and even meat contain varying amount of pesticide residue. They cannot always be removed by washing and other means. How do our activity affect the environment? Changes in the environment affect us, and our activity change the environment around us. The environmental problem in detail, that is depletion of ozone gas layer and waste disposal, is an example of the change in environment caused due to human interference. Ozone layer. Ozone is a molecule formed by 3 atoms of oxygen. 2 oxygen atom, which we normally refer to as oxygen, is essential for all aerobic forms of life. Ozone is a deadly poison. However, at the higher level of the atmosphere, ozone performs an essential function. It shields the surface of the earth from ultraviolet radiation from the sun. So though it is a deadly poison, it protects us from ultraviolet radiation from the sun. This radiation is highly damaging to organisms and it is known to cause skin cancer in human beings. How does the ozone form? Ozone at the higher level of atmosphere is a product of UV radiation acting on oxygen molecule. So whenever the ultraviolet radiation falls on oxygen, it becomes ozone. Here you can see in the equation, when O2 is reacted with ultraviolet radiation, it splits into two oxygen atoms. One oxygen atom combines with another oxygen molecule and it forms ozone. The higher UV radiation splits apart some molecular oxygen into free oxygen atom. These atoms then combine with molecular oxygen to form ozone as shown here. The amount of ozone in the atmosphere began to drop sharply in 1980. This decrease has been linked to synthetic chemicals like chlorofluorocarbons, the main responsible chemical for depletion of ozone, which are used as refrigerant and in fire extinguisher. In 1987, United Nations Environment Program succeeded in forging an agreement to freeze CFC production at 1986 level. It is now mandatory for all the manufacturing companies to make CFC-free refrigerator throughout the world, managing the garbage we produce. Enzymes are specific in their action. Specific enzymes are needed for breakdown of a particular substance. That is why we will not get any energy if we try to eat coal. Because of this, many human-made material like plastic will not be broken down by the action of bacteria or other saprophytes. These materials will be acted upon by a physical process like heat and pressure. So the non-biodegradable things like plastic cannot be broken down by any action of bacteria or other saprophytes, but they have to be broken down by physical process, heat and pressure. Substances that are broken down by biological pressure are said to be biodegradable. Substances that are not broken down in this manner are said to be non-biodegradable. These substances may be inert and simply persist in the environment for a long time or may harm the various members of the ecosystem. What can we do to discard the non-biodegradable waste? One part is this. Improvement in our lifestyle have resulted in greater amount of waste material generations. Changes in attitude have also a role to play, with more and more things we use becoming disposable. Changes in packing have resulted in much of our waste becoming non-biodegradable. So our lifestyle that we have changed has brought down the level of plastic that was used earlier. Now we use Coolhards as disposable cups made of clay to drink tea at certain places.